Alright, now to preface this video, I wanted to start out by saying that I don't really normally make videos like this. I honestly don't really normally make videos at all. But Swarm actually has a lot of little useful tips and tricks that aren't really incredibly obvious when you're first starting out. Because of this, I decided to put together a list of the top 10 things I wish I knew before starting Swarm. Okay, we're going to start out simple. Number 1 is an easy one. Turn off auto-targeting. When starting out, you may find that the game defaults you to auto-targeting your weapon to the closest enemy, which makes it feel clunky. You can disable this by pressing C, which will allow you to aim your weapon wherever you want to. Sometimes using auto-targeting is fine, but there's almost always more times where you'll want to be able to manually aim your weapon. The next one on the list is a little subjective, but honestly it was one of the biggest improvements I've noticed for the game. Number 2 is turn down your video settings. Now I may be getting old, but I found the visual clutter of Swarm to be pretty hard on my eyes after only an hour or two of playing. I helped alleviate this by turning down all my video settings to low and going into the accessibility settings and turning these color settings down until things looked a little less crazy. This actually also has the added benefit of increasing your FPS on lower end PCs, which can be an issue in the later stages of the game. Next up is number 3. This is a pretty basic one for those of you familiar with the Vampire Survivors genre, but it's actually helpful to spread out your meta progression upgrades evenly. Pretty much all of them are important, and getting level 1 on all of them before going to level 2 will be a more effective way to gain power for the least amount of gold. Now, if you did want to focus on anything specific, I find that the gold multiplier, projectile multiplier, and XP upgrades are the most important for basic play. Alright, number 4 is where things start to get a little more interesting. Let's talk about weapon evolutions. Weapons can evolve when paired with a specific passive. For example, the Radiant Field weapon will evolve when paired with the Max HP passive. Once it does evolve, it gains unique and powerful effects that seriously boost the value of the weapon. You always want to try and pair your passives up with the weapons you've already picked, and vice versa. When you're first starting out, I really wouldn't worry too much about this, but you can actually use the chart on the top left of your screen that appears when you press Tab to see all the different combinations of passives and weapon evolutions. It will probably take a few rounds of playing until you unlock the passives needed for some weapons, so I really wouldn't worry about it too much if you can't find what you need. Focus on leveling up your weapons first before your passives, as you can't evolve them until you've reached level 5 on the weapon and picked up an access card that can get dropped by elites and bosses. Alright, number 5 is one that's a little more important on the subterranean map, but I find that it's always smart to avoid standing near walls. Enemies can and will spawn on top of you with no warning, resulting in you taking unexpected damage. I've died more times than I care to admit by having a bomb spawning right on top of me. Okay, number 6. There are breakable boxes on the ground that contain useful things like health packs, gold, magnets, and bombs. This may seem like it's pretty obvious, but I've actually met multiple people who told me that it took them many games to even realize that these boxes were destructible. For number 7, you should know that each map has interactable areas on it that can affect the game. These aren't always that useful, but they can be helpful when you're first starting out. The first map has a healing shrine in the middle. The second map has a laser cannon that you need to fill up with a battery. The third map has 2 freezing shrines. And the fourth map will constantly shell the beach with mortars, which can help kill enemies. Misfortune also roams the city and shoots enemies, but I find that she's kind of pretty much useless. Now here's a tip for when you're playing with friends. Number 8 is don't forget to revive. Swarm can be played solo or with up to 3 other people. If one of your teammates goes down, after a short delay, you can walk over them and revive them by standing on their body. They will automatically revive after a longer delay if you aren't able to get to them, so don't put yourself into a position where you may be in danger for trying to revive them. The base respawn timer is 15 seconds, but for every death this increases by 9 seconds up to a maximum of 60. Alright, getting near the end now, we have number 9. Throughout your progression in Swarm, you'll unlock different challenges that you can complete to get rewards. Yuumi Assistant Quests and Belveth Trials are 2 of these. There'll be short minigames that you need to complete for huge rewards, so prioritize doing them ASAP as long as you can safely do so. Lots of these augments that you get from the Yuumi quests scale better the earlier you get them, so it's always smart to try and do them before leveling up too much. And finally, number 10. The main part of an Animal Swarm game will only last 15 minutes. After that, you'll be forced into a boss encounter that is unique to each map that you'll have around 5 minutes to complete before the boss enrages and will kill your team very quickly. Try to make sure your build has enough damage to kill the bosses within that time frame. An easy trap to fall into is going for an overly defensive build and not having enough DPS to burn through the boss's massive health pool in time. And that's it. Obviously there are a ton of other things I probably could have mentioned in this video as well, but I wanted to put out something fairly quickly, and this video is already pretty late to the punch. Swarm is a game mode just full of optimizations and weird eccentricities. So if you have any tips and tricks that you want to share or think that I missed something important, feel free to leave a comment with the details below. Stay tuned to this channel for more Swarm content, including some updated tier lists for the release patch and individual build guides for each champion. Until then, thanks for watching. Do the like and subscribe thing if you want, and I hope you enjoy Swarm.